The Sahara, today, you know it as a vast, sun-bleached wilderness, a place of endless dunes and scorching winds, stretching farther than the eye can see. But imagine, for just a moment, standing in this same place, and hearing the soft rustle of tall green grasses in the breeze. Picture wide rivers snaking through fertile plains, dotted with clusters of trees. Imagine the air smelling of rain-soaked soil, the ground beneath your feet rich and damp, and herds of animals moving across an endless savanna. The heat is still here, but it's softened by clouds and distant storms. This is not the Sahara, you know. This is a forgotten world. This is the Sahara when it was green. It is hard to believe that one of the driest places on Earth was once one of its most vibrant. But thousands of years ago, the Sahara was not a desert. It was alive, overflowing with rivers, lakes, and life. The story of how it became a desert, and the people and creatures who once called it home, is a story written in stone, in ancient bones, and in the paintings on the walls of caves. It begins in a time long before written history, when the Earth's climate followed a rhythm set by forces far beyond our control. Around 10,000 years ago, the tilt of the Earth's axis shifted ever so slightly. That tiny change altered the pattern of monsoon rains across Africa. The winds carried moisture far to the north, and the barren sands of the Sahara began to drink in the rain. Grass spread quickly, the rivers swelled, and the desert transformed into a lush savanna. It was a transformation so complete that if you were to walk through it, you might not even believe you were in the same region. The Sahara of this green period was alive with water. Imagine Lake Chad not as the shrinking puddle it is today, but as a massive inland sea, stretching over an area so large it could rival the Caspian. The Nile flowed strongly, fed by rains that drenched its distant headwaters, and its tributaries crisscrossed the land. In the heart of what is now an empty desert lay Lake Megachad, Lake Faizan, and countless smaller bodies of water. Fish darted in the shallows. Hippos and crocodiles basked in the sun along muddy banks. Even the air itself was alive with the calls of water birds. Where there is water, life follows. Herds of antelope grazed in the tall grass. Elephants roamed the open plains in slow, deliberate movements, while lions stalked through the shadows of acacia trees. Giraffes moved in herds across the horizon, their long necks swaying with each step. Reptiles slid silently through reeds, and insects buzzed in the thick, damp air. The Sahara was no wasteland, it was a thriving ecosystem, as rich and as varied as the African savannas we know today, and where animals thrive, humans are never far behind. In the green Sahara, people lived and flourished. Nomadic tribes moved with the seasons, following herds and fishing in rivers. They left behind clues to their world paintings and carvings on rock walls that have endured for thousands of years. If you look closely at these ancient artworks, you'll see scenes that tell their story. Hunters with bows drawn, fishermen pulling nets from the water, women grinding grain under the shade of trees, and children splashing in shallow pools. There are even depictions of animals no longer found in the region, like the aurochs, a massive wild cattle species, and giant fish that once swam through unvarnished lakes. These images, painted with ochre and carved into stone, are more than just art. They are windows into a vanished world. They tell us not only what people saw, but what they valued: community, abundance, the balance between humans and the land. You can almost hear the laughter of children, the the pounding rhythm of drums during gatherings, the smell of cooking fires drifting through the cool evening air. But climates change, and sometimes they change slowly enough for life to adapt. Other times, they change so fast that whole ecosystems vanish within a few generations. Around 6,000 years ago, the Earth's tilt shifted again. The rains began to weaken year after year. The Great Lakes shrank. The rivers became seasonal trickles. The grasses turned from green to gold, then to brittle brown. Herds of animals moved south in search of food and water. People followed them, abandoning settlements as the land around them turned to dust. For the first few centuries, the change might have been subtle: a dry year here, a failed harvest there. But then the shift accelerated. Winds picked up, sweeping away topsoil. The sun beat down with unbroken ferocity. Dust storms rose like mountains, swallowing the horizon. The transformation was irreversible. The Sahara was dying. Some humans adapted. They clung to the shrinking oases, dug deeper wells, and turned to hardier crops. Others migrated toward the Nile, where the river's steady flow sustained life, even as the desert closed in. Many traveled farther south into the Sahel and beyond, carrying with them their memories, their traditions, and their art. The rock paintings stopped depicting hippos and elephants. The people who once painted them were gone. In time, the last pools dried, the grass vanished, and the sand won. The Sahara we know today, its dunes, its mirages, its endless horizons, was born. But beneath that sand, the ghosts of the green Sahara remain. Modern science has begun to uncover that hidden world. Satellite images have revealed the outlines of long-dead rivers buried beneath the dunes. Fossilized bones of crocodiles and fish have been unearthed hundreds of miles from the nearest water. Ancient pollen, trapped in layers of sediment, tells of forests and grasslands long gone. And in caves and rock shelters, the paintings still wait, their colors faded, but their meaning as powerful as ever. If the Sahara were still green today, the history of humanity might have been very different. Vast, fertile lands could have supported great cities, trade routes, and cultures across what is now an empty desert. Africa's interior might have been a hub of civilization, its rivers carrying goods and ideas between continents. The migrations that shaped our species' history might have taken other paths entirely, but that is not our world. Our Sahara is a place of silence and sand, and yet the green Sahara is not gone forever, not entirely. The forces that made it lush once before could, in theory, do so again. In tens of thousands of years, the Earth's tilt will shift once more, and the rains may return. The desert could bloom again, and the animals, in some form, could return with it. Perhaps, in that distant future, people will once again stand where you are, now surrounded by grass instead of sand, hearing the call of birds instead of the howl of wind. For now, all we can do is imagine and remember that the earth has changed before and will change again. The green Sahara is gone, but in the rocks, in the fossils, and in our imaginations, it still lives. And tonight, as you close your eyes, you can walk its grassy plains, once more feeling the damp earth beneath your feet, hearing the rivers flow, and seeing the horizon stretch green and full of life under the African sun.